News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
KVNU News Time is 4:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Cache Valley Pharmacy. In addition to a third straight day of over 1,000 new coronavirus cases, the state health department Thursday report of 7 deaths in Utah includes 3 in the Bear River Health District. 2 of them are from Box Elder County, a woman between the ages of 65 and 84, and a man between 25 and 44, plus a Cache County man, 85 plus. All 3 were hospitalized at the time of death. There have been 117 COVID deaths in Cache, Box Elder, and Rich counties. Today's exact case count was 1,096, which helped drive the 7-day average for positive tests to 905 a day, the highest in almost 6 months. The latest report leaves Utah with 437,585 positive cases in Utah over the course of the pandemic. With today's 7 new deaths, there have been 2,486 who have lost their lives. Meanwhile, the Bear River Health Department reported 71 new COVID cases in northern Utah, and the district's total case count grew to 23,352. There are now 22,699 in the district who the state considers to be recovered. KVNU News Time is 4:06. KVNU weather for tonight. Becoming mostly cloudy, isolated showers and thunderstorms this evening, then partly cloudy after midnight. Some thunderstorms may produce strong gusty winds this evening. Overnight low in the upper 50s. Isolated rain showers Friday morning, then isolated showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon. Areas of smoke through the day. Partly cloudy, quite a bit cooler, high temperature in the lower 80s. It's hot today. It's 93 right now at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by Polylift Concrete Raising and Piering. Attention homeowners, you may have noticed the ground shift after your foundation's been poured, causing your house to sink or settle. Protect your investment from issues before they happen. Polylift Concrete Raising and Piering will stabilize, lift, and eliminate further settling by using Magnum Piering products to save you big money down the road. The foundation lifting experts, Polylift Concrete Raising and Piering. Check out their website, poly-lift.com. And schedule your free assessment. Call or text 435-999-9309.
This is Phil with Cache Valley Pharmacy. We love being in Cache Valley and want to thank you for your support. Cache Valley Pharmacy features the best prices in the valley. And as always, free delivery. If you're in the market for prescriptions, check first with Cache Valley Pharmacy for the absolute best prices, especially on compounds and insulin. We've been doing pharmacy better than anyone else in the valley with free delivery valley-wide for the last 19 years. Cache Valley Pharmacy, the pharmacy delivery experts. Order your prescriptions online at cachevalleypharmacy.com.
KVNU News Time is 4:08. JBS Hiram will hold 2 free COVID-19 vaccine clinics and give away meat for a year to 2 winners, 1 per clinic. JBS is working with the Bear River Health Department on the clinics. They will be held Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and Monday from 11 to 7 at the Health Department located at 655 East, 1300 North in Logan. JBS USA is holding the COVID-19 shot clinics as part of their mission to vaccinate Americans in the rural communities where the company operates. To motivate people to participate, the meatpacking company will award 1 winner free beef, pork, and poultry to feed a family of 4 for a year at each clinic who receives their first vaccine. JBS will also give 5 pounds of ground beef to everyone who receives a vaccine at the 2 clinics. Nearly 60% of JBS team members have already been vaccinated to date. Darren Olson, JBS Hiram plant manager, said this sweepstakes is a great incentive to encourage everyone to come out and do their part to help put an end to the pandemic. And Utah's hospitals are feeling the strain as coronavirus cases increase, the vast majority among unvaccinated people. Republican Governor Spencer Cox called the latest wave a pandemic of the unvaccinated. He maintained the state would not require people to show they got the shot, but he said if private companies require some sort of proof of vaccination, the state would support them. Hospitals also have shortages of healthcare workers and medications. Healthcare officials say the state had more than 6,000 new cases over the past week. About 90% of those affected unvaccinated individuals. KVNU News Time is 4:10. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
Breaking news, stimulating talk is what we do. KVNU 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
This is Cache County Fire Chief Rod Hammer asking for your continued help. The state forester has determined that measures must be taken to prevent the ignition of forest and rangeland fires. Therefore, the following acts are prohibited: no building, maintaining, attending, or using any fire, campfire, or stove fire, including charcoal grills and barbecues, coal and wood-burning stoves and tin stoves, at homes and in developed camping and picnic grounds. There is an exception for devices using pellets, pressurized liquid fuel, or gas that include shut-off valves. They are permitted when used in an area at least 3 feet or more from flammable material such as grasses or pine needles. No smoking except within an enclosed vehicle, trailer, or building, a developed recreation site, or while stopped in an area that is paved or free from dry vegetation. No discharging or using any fireworks, tracer ammunition, or other pyrotechnic devices, including exploding targets. No cutting, welding, or grinding metals in areas of dry vegetation. No operating a motorcycle, chainsaw, ATV, or other small internal combustion engine without an approved and working spark arrestor. On behalf of all the firefighters in Cache County, we appreciate your efforts in preventing wildfire.
If you think it's expensive to hire a professional, just wait until you hire an amateur.
Why the heck is the roof leaking? Larry, you said you got it fixed.
I thought it was fixed, Donna. Everything was fine until it started raining.
Larry, that's the point of fixing the roof, is so we can actually live here when it's stormy outside.
This is David with Roof Rescue. Our experienced roofing team is tried and true and will fix your roof guaranteed. Visit roofrescueusa.com to schedule your free roof inspection. Roof Rescue, providing watertight peace of mind.
Pristine wilderness can still be found in the West, where creeks run freely and historic apple trees still bear fruit. Maple Creek Ranch features breathtaking canyon views and opportunities for real estate development. 2.5-acre lots are now available with adjacent wilderness areas that provide endless riding and recreational possibilities. So find your piece of paradise just 35 minutes from Logan at Maple Creek Ranch. Schedule your appointment online at maplecreekranch.net.
If you're like most local residents, you have a huge influx of creepy crawlers invading your home. Right now, the nasty elm seed beetle is all over northern Utah, but there is a solution. Call Logan Extermination today for a full exterior spray. Their full exterior spray includes foundations and eaves and will kill those nasty spiders, wasps, box elder bugs, and the new nuisance elm seed beetles. And best of all, prices start at only $85. Call Logan Extermination today for details. 752-8450.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cache Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have two guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVN News for the People. It is Thursday, August 5th. I'm Jason Williams. Bill Walter here in the studio as well. And we have a lot to talk about. This is going to be fun. Kind of a preview for a guest that will join us next week on the show. Yesterday I talked about a report that was presented to Logan City Council titled The Power of Downtown Plazas, from an organization that specializes in researching downtowns. And they do this a couple of different ways. They go out and do secret shopping. They do traffic monitoring for months at a time. This organization specializes in consulting with cities that want to revamp their downtowns, as Logan has been set to do for a long time now. And fascinating stuff, the report itself. We talked about it yesterday on the show. I got digging around their website more, found some videos. They have a YouTube channel. And finally, I was sold. I reached out to the actual author of the report that was presented to Logan City Council this week, but also the founder of this organization that specializes in developing downtowns, including, if you've been recently to Caldwell, Idaho, or that big Olympic Plaza in British Columbia, and even some work done in Parowan, Utah, to center a downtown around some famous cinnamon rolls. How cool is that? He will be joining us on the show next week, but we've got some stuff they sent along today that we can entertain listeners with. We'll also be joined by Joe Williams, who is the Assistant Director of the Utah Division of Water Resources. He's going to be talking to us about reservoirs, northern Utah, central Utah, southern Utah. A report yesterday showing that the Deer Creek Reservoir, which I didn't know this supplies water to about 50% of the state's population right now, with about $60 million in upgrades, could be a reservoir that would meet the needs of that same number of people and the growth coming for another 40 years. $60 million, quite a price tag, though. What would it take to take our existing reservoirs and could we make them useful to meet our water needs going forward, droughts or not? Joe will be talking to us about that in Hour 2. Here in Hour 1, though, our new weekly tradition, not really new at this point. It's been going on for several weeks, very popular with our listeners, and appreciate the feedback on that. Stepping away from the headlines of the day to speak with journalist and theater aficionado from CashValleyDaily.com and our own newsroom here at KVNU, Charlie Schill, joining us for this week's installment of still, as of yet, unnamed Hour. Although a listener did suggest, Charlie, that we simply call this Charlie's Hour. And I kind of like that, but it doesn't tell people what you're here to talk to us about each week, which is arts, entertainment, and specifically the theater. And, man, every week there's something new that is coming or something new to talk about that has been here that people need to get out and see. This week's no exception, right? We had some openings and some closings.
Well, we're kind of in a lull right now.
Sure, but a lull here is still something, right?
Last week I said that we had 28 shows opening between now and next April.
So crazy.
I was wrong. It's 29.
Oh, there's one more. Which one did you miss?
Well, I didn't actually miss it. The Pickleville Playhouse folks just announced their Halloween show.
Oh, wow.
They're going to do...
in addition to the Christmas thing they already had planned. Okay.
They're going to do, for the third consecutive year, The Addams Family.
Oh, wow. That was fun.
It's a
I
great
did catch
show.
that.
It really is good.
Very cool.
They back in December, they did a survey for their patrons, people who had purchased tickets previously. They sent out an online survey and asked, they had already decided they were going to do Peter Pan this summer.
Okay.
But they gave their patrons the choice between, do we do a melodrama or a couple of commercial plays?
Oh, wow.
And
I didn't know that.
They decided, the patrons decided they wanted to see a melodrama, and that has turned out really well.
That is very cool.
They also gave the patrons the choice for a Halloween show between reprising The Addams Family again, or doing Into the Woods, Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, no, that could be fun, too.
Or A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder. That's a more recent musical that's on Broadway.
And that's been very popular.
It was until the coronavirus happened.
Kind of
everything shut down.
Shut that down.
Anyway, but the survey respondents picked Addams Family overwhelmingly.
Wow.
So
that will be a fun one to see. Although I'm disappointed. I did want to see that Gentleman's Guide to. I hadn't had a chance, obviously.
There's a touring show of that going to start probably in January.
Okay.
At least I've heard that there's a national touring show going to start. I think the actors' unions are still having trouble deciding what stipulations should be written into the actors' contracts to ensure their safety. So who knows what's going to happen. They're still talking about Broadway coming back to life in September and October. So.
Oh, that is. I've been wondering about that. A lot of things opening back up, and I understand maybe their hesitancy, considering. I mean, you're talking grouping a large number of people together there, and the city I know still being very careful about COVID, but it feels like time almost. Tourism has to be way down for the city with the Broadway shows closed.
No, there's no question about that. But the problem is the city was hit massively hard. Governor Cuomo didn't do them any favors.
No,
with all of his
self-defeating choices. Many of them.
I haven't heard anything about it, but I'm sure they're getting hit hard by the new variant and the resurgence of the coronavirus with the unvaccinated people. So
that's
anything is possible.
That's right. This is, it would be, I think, really welcome to see those things back. But like we talked about, these aren't things where you can just say, hey, let's do a show next weekend. I mean, these take years to produce and perform. And do you happen to know those Broadway casts? Have they kept, practicing and rehearsing in the hopes they'll be back soon, or
no,
it's just shut down entirely?
There have been a number of benefits and things that have been done both via Zoom and digitally, and just recently some performances in person. With live audiences. The problem is still that question about, do we have to social distance? Do we have to make the audience wear masks? Last summer, Pickleville went ahead with a melodrama.
That's right.
And they did The Addams Family in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
And in both those cases, everybody was required to wear masks. For the melodrama, they actually used social distancing. For Addams Family, they sat groups of ticket holders together, but there wasn't formal social distancing. But everybody wore masks.
That is,
and they still had huge audiences.
The draw is, especially this year, but even last year, just to get out to anything, to see anything, it really, it kind of drives what we talk about here each week home so much that, we take it for granted. We've mentioned several times, we take it for granted here in Cache Valley what you can get out and see on a random weekend. And just to not have it, or to have it in such a limited scale, I was too optimistic. I was hoping for this just huge splurge as far as what was going to happen, and that really hasn't manifested nationwide. It has here, though. It seems like, with what we've been talking about with the Festival Opera, the shows that have already come and gone just this summer, the content and the choices not lacking here in northern Utah at all.
And it really wasn't lacking during the pandemic either.
Sure.
Wendy Hassan worked miracles with those random acts performing arts series in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic. Yes, there was social distancing. Yes, everybody had to wear masks.
But it was happening, at least.
The turnout was phenomenal for some of those shows.
Sure.
Music Theater West did a concert version of Bright Star, which is Steve Martin's bluegrass musical. And they absorbed a lot of people who had performed the previous fall in a version of Bright Star that the CTC did. And the show was just phenomenal.
That is, honestly, it speaks to the. I mean, obviously these are creative people, but I don't know that any other. I almost said industry, and that doesn't really seem to capture it. Culture, arts culture was able to. We saw early on in the pandemic, we saw these very creative. I remember there was a full opera performed via Zoom. Symphonies performing via Zoom, and to get that timing right, and just, I mean, it's amazing. But there were some theater productions done this way. But I think the real testament of the creativity of the people in this world, this culture, is what they did to try and, as you mentioned, keep live performances happening and keep them safe and keep them, done in a way that was comfortable for patrons to show up. But to keep them going, the work that went into it, I don't think anybody will really, and she's too humble to say herself, I don't think anyone will know the hours Wendy Hassan put in to make that happen last year and to bring what they've got this summer.
Well, think about it. She had to go out and find performers, and in many cases, small acts.
Sure.
Things that were absolutely lost on the stage at the Eccles, but still very talented, very entertaining, and she was beating the bushes for people. And
sure.
Boy, she found a number of great acts.
It was amazing stuff to see, and again this summer, just really stepping things back up as the reopening slowly happens. By the way, for listeners, if you want to see any of this that we're talking about through the Eccles Theater and more, the Cache Valley Center for the Arts website, I've linked to on our Facebook page. We're talking with Charlie Schill of CacheValleyDaily.com in our own newsroom here at KVNU. He writes for both, and oftentimes you'll hear him in the news. He joins us once a week to talk theater, arts and entertainment, and more here on For the People, and we'll be back with more right after this.
Jessup Insurance and Retirement Services, let us guide you.
Dan and Stacy Jessup adhere to principles of honesty and integrity. They're passionate about guiding individuals through the complex maze of Medicare and sign-up questions. They will simplify the process guaranteed. Call Jessup Insurance at 213-3200 or Google Jessup Insurance.
Jessup Insurance and Retirement Services, let us guide you.
My name is Aspen Hunter, and I am the Cache County Fair and Rodeo Queen. Come see us at the Cache County Fair and Rodeo August 11th through the 14th. The rodeo starts at 8 p.m. We have some amazing specialty acts performing at the rodeo. 3-time Specialty Act of the Year, Tomas Garcilaso, will be attending, as well as the 2-time World Champion all-around Western performer, 4-time World Champion trick roper, and 2-time World Champion gunspinner Ryder Keisner, along with Bethany Illes. So shine up your boots and come see us at the Cache County Fair and Rodeo.
Come on out, let's have some fun at the Cache County Fair.
This is the Sean Hannity Show.
Supply chain issues have been pushing up prices, labor shortages putting wage pressure on the grocery sector. What have I been telling you? We're going to pay more for everything. Everything you buy in every store is now costing dramatically more, on top of the inflation and on top of filling up your tank and heating and cooling your home. Thanks, Joe.
Weekday afternoons from 1 to 4 on News Talk KVNU.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Joined in the studio here by Charlie Schill of CacheValleyDaily.com and the KVNU newsroom. He joins us once a week here, 4 o'clock on Thursdays, to talk theater in Cache Valley. If you've been listening, and I know a lot of folks who have told me they make sure not to miss this hour because you get this behind-the-scenes look from Charlie, but also a chance to talk about everything that's going on. One listener actually emailed in after last weekend, Charlie, and thanked us. You had mentioned something during the show last week that had jarred their memory, and they had purchased tickets, took the whole family, and said the email from the listener mentions this was the first thing we had gone to do in quite some time, and we all got out and had fun, and it was right here in Cache Valley, a short drive away. and appreciate the reminder that these things are an option. To me, that kind of epitomizes what a lot of us, especially those of us who have maybe grown up here our whole lives, ironically, I think are the worst at forgetting some of these things, not taking advantage of the entertainment options here. And you hear it all the time. Grown adults will tell me, there are no good movies in the theater. And yet there are these theaters.
Sure aren't now.
That's right, and it's true right now, but then that same night, this production will be happening with tickets still available sometimes night of at one of the theaters in downtown. We just forget. I think it's something that isn't at the forefront of our minds, and like I say, I see this most from people who live here, who grew up here, than I do. Folks in Ogden who travel up here on the weekends in the summertime, sometimes every weekend, to see something.
Well, theater is kind of a two-edged sword. Our audiences here in the summer are traditionally older people.
Sure.
As one of them, I can say that.
You can say that.
And in many cases, theater groups program for that audience.
Sure.
Which means
Makes
you end
sense.
up with a steady diet of South Pacific, Oklahoma,
the classics,
Sound of Music, that sort of thing.
Sure.
The problem is, in satisfying that audience, sometimes you turn off younger audiences who are interested in seeing things like Spamalot, like Something's Rotten, like Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder.
Sure.
More recent things they're not familiar with, and they want to see those kind of productions.
Makes sense.
It's you walk a tightrope when you're programming.
And it seems to me that a fair assumption would be that younger crowd is a bit more of an unreliable base of ticket sales.
Probably true.
No offense to the young people listening, but you can be a bit finicky sometimes with supporting local arts.
But here you sort of get in the summer, you see more traditional shows.
Sure.
And then in the winter, the production companies, the performing arts companies feel a little free to do different things. Music Theater West, they're famous for doing the tried and true.
Sure.
And no matter whether you like or don't like one of their productions, you will walk in and watch it and love it. That's their trademark. Shows that I don't like, I would go to see MTV or Music Theater West perform, and I end up loving them.
Just because they're good.
They're good.
That's...
But, they last, I don't remember what, it was in spring. They did Little Shop of Horrors. That's not their trademark. Their trademark is big, large-scale productions, big casts.
I did a double take when I saw the press release on that they were going to be doing Little Shop of Horrors. It surprised me.
Well, it was a show that they could rehearse safely in the midst of the pandemic.
Makes sense.
And that's what was going on.
And it worked for a long time. That was what everyone was talking about. Just, I think the timing, of course, they were one of the first, weren't they, this year?
To come back, yeah.
Come back. And that's Music Theater West, too, is, you've mentioned this before, I think, but they have a bit of a reputation of taking some of those risks. That line you're talking about, riding that line between the classics, the things they know will get a crowd to show up, but also keeping things fresh, taking a risk here and there. They're really good at that.
Mm-hmm. They've got a production of Sound of Music coming up in mid-September. that will undoubtedly be a great production, just like all of their things are great.
Sure. And that's an example of what you said as well. That you've mentioned before, that's not one of your favorites. It's been done to death.
Oh, my God.
But you'll be there to see this because it's Music Theater West.
Music Theater West. I mean, just before I started this job, I went to see their production of Annie. I'm one of these people whose skin kind of crawls when you have a show with a lot of kids in it because,
You've been on the production end, right?
And there's nothing worse than a bad production of Oliver or a bad production of The King and I, where you have little kids scattered all over the stage. Oy vey. But, I mean, that show opens with 2 scenes with those kids, and they were fabulous.
Really?
Yeah, and you just you sit
That's
back
great.
because they're going to blow you out of your seat. They're so good.
That's the reputation I think they have is they don't cut corners. They do what needs to be done, but they have that reputation, and so I know people that personally I think try not to miss a single Music Theater West production here in the Valley. So their calendar, by the way, is up and available. I've linked to that on our Facebook page, too. We're talking with Charlie Schill, our friend here in the studio from Cache Valley Daily and KVNU's newsroom. You can read Charlie each week, every day in the news at CacheValleyDaily.com, but he steps away from that just long enough to join us for an hour each week, every Thursday at 4, talking theater here on For the People, and we'll be back with more of Charlie and the theater right after these headlines with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:36, and the news is brought to you by U&I Furniture. The Preston Airport is closed to all services for 3 months. The asphalt is being taken off the runway, and a new top is being put down. Other safety measures are also being added. Franklin County Commissioner Dirk Bowles said when they first applied for the grant from the FAA, they were only going to fund 90% of the cost of construction. Bowles explained that due to COVID, they had money and will fund 100% of the cost of redoing the runway now. No city or county funds will be used for the project. The FAA does an extensive study. They count how many fixed-wing aircraft touch down on the runway. The commissioner said Utah State University's aviation program uses the airport quite a bit, and there is a lot more air traffic than most people think. The project has been on the airport board's radar for about 5 years. The project should wind up in the middle to the end of October. As the new school year approaches, Logan City and Cache County school districts are working closely with the Bear River Health District as they prepare to welcome students back with some preventative measures against COVID to keep students and staff safe. Logan City School District Foundation Executive Director and District Communications Specialist Shauna Longhurst said that they are excited to see everyone and look forward to having a school year with everyone in classrooms. They will do their best to keep everyone healthy. In a letter to parents, the school districts encourage staff and students who are vaccine eligible to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. This includes students 12 and older. For individuals not eligible or who do not desire to receive the vaccine, the school districts encourage them to wear masks when indoors. With the passing of House Bill 294, which ended all mask mandates in Utah as of July, the school districts cannot require masks. The districts will continue to follow a regimen of sanitizing, cleaning high-touch surfaces, and hand washing. Both districts ask parents to keep children who do not feel well at home to help prevent the spread of not only COVID-19 but other illnesses as well. And Spanish Fork police have recovered the body of a 60-year-old man found in the water of a canal last evening. Lieutenant Brandon Anderson with Spanish Fork Police said they were first alerted to the body just after 7 p.m. KUTV reports when crews arrived at the canal, they discovered a man face down in the water. A walking trail follows the canal in the area near Costco, Macy's, and I-15 where the man's body was found. KVNU News Time is 4:39.
People love shopping at UNI Furniture. They know they're going to get a great price on a quality piece of furniture. And one section of the store is Chair Heaven, where UNI has a big selection of rocker recliners, power recliners, big chairs, chairs for the petite, swivel chairs, accent chairs, lift chairs, all kinds of chairs. UNI works hard to have the inventory you're looking for. In fact, they order new furniture on almost a daily basis to keep stocked up. So if you need a sofa love, sectional, a new dining room set, stop in and see why there really is always a better buy at UNI Furniture in downtown Logan at 28 West 1st North.
KVNU weather for tonight, partly cloudy to mostly cloudy skies, and there is a chance of an isolated shower or thunderstorm this evening, partly cloudy after midnight. Low temperature in the upper 50s, isolated rain showers Friday morning, then isolated showers and storms in the afternoon, areas of smoke through the day, partly cloudy. It is going to be quite a bit cooler, only in the lower 80s. By contrast, it's been to 96. Right now it's 95 at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by Cache Valley Pharmacy. They've been doing pharmacy better than anyone else in the Valley with free delivery valley-wide for the last 19 years. Cache Valley Pharmacy, the pharmacy delivery experts. Order your prescription online at cachevalleypharmacy.com. For more details on these and other stories, visit cachevalleydaily.com. Let's check Wall Street now with Edward Jones.
This is Tron Arnold with Edward Jones, bringing you the daily financial market report. Stocks closed higher on news that continuing jobless claims fell to a new pandemic-era low. Shares of the financial, energy, and utility sectors led the gains. Treasury yields also moved higher on the jobs data, but remain well below the levels reached earlier this year. Oil is hovering around $69 a barrel after a three-day sell-off on demand concerns. Bitcoin, which recently fell below the key $30,000 mark, is back up to $38,000, but seems to be finding resistance at $40,000. Asian and European shares were mixed, and the dollar is stronger against the basket of currencies. U.S. equities closed higher today. The Dow closed up 272 points, or 0.78%, closing at 35,064. The NASDAQ closed up 115 points, or 0.78%, closing at 14,895, and the S&P closed up 26 points, or 0.6%, to 4,429. In the bond market, the 10-year Treasury yields are trading at 1.21%, higher by 0.05%. In stocks of local interest, Thermo Fisher was up $3.47, closing at $542.35. Home Depot was up $2.80, closing at $333.11. Autoliv was up $1.22 at $98.25. Lowe's was up 78 cents at $190.68. Walmart was up $2.65, closing at $145.49. Nucor was down $3.39 at $101.51. Coca-Cola was up 40 cents at $56.50. Kroger was down 5 cents at $41.87. General Electric was up 11 cents, closing at $103.02. And R. Donnelly was up 20 cents, closing at $5.68 a share. This is Tron Arnold of Edward Jones, member SIPC, serving individual investors with personalized attention and long-term financial advice at our address at 1202 South Main in Logan. If you want to give us a call, feel free to give us a call at 435-752-3400.
We live in a very special place. There are a few places where you can snow ski in the morning, then play golf in the afternoon. Hike a trail, water ski, take a 70-mile bike ride, then go fly fishing. I'm Dee Jones, and I'm running for Logan City Mayor. I'm a local business owner and know the struggles independent small businesses face. I have 35 years marketing and business solutions experience. I know how to balance a budget and where to cut costs. I'm Dee Jones. I'm running for Logan City Mayor, and I'm asking for your vote.
Paid for by Dee Jones.
Friday edition, Clay Travis and Buck Sexton show. Marsha Blackburn, senator from Tennessee, will be in the show hanging out with us. What else we got, Buck?
We've been talking about the border, about the crazy COVID regulations that are coming down at the federal level. Could it affect everybody who is currently active military? Plus, what are we going to do about the crazy spending bill still making its way through the Senate? That and more coming up on the next edition of the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton show.
10 to 1 on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. We have a suggestion, Charlie, for this hour coming from also a member of our news team. I don't have permission to quote him here, but I'm going to do it anyway, and hopefully he doesn't get mad. But Craig Hislop suggesting that we call this hour each week Charlie's Arts, to which I added we could also do the Charlie's Angels theme song as we came into the hour each time and really make it a kind of a branded hour. I don't know. I don't think Charlie's sold on this based on the look on his face. I don't know if Charlie's Arts is the one.
Charlie's Stage.
I like this, but we also have a suggestion of Theatrical Thursdays. But the reason that doesn't work is because the other days when I'm being theatrical here in the studio myself, it could cause some confusion.
Yeah.
I thought you were only theatrical on Thursdays.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, which happens every time I talk about the state legislature, basically. No, it's our chance to talk about theater, arts, entertainment here in Cache Valley, the opportunities you have, the exposure you can get to this type of thing. As Charlie mentioned, we're in a bit of a lull this week. We had Spamalot and Nonsense were the two most recent new things. Unfortunately, Utah Festival Opera wrapping up their summer season over the past weekend. And no shortage of things coming. We've talked about some of the holiday stuff coming. You mentioned briefly that it's we're nearing. Correct me if I'm wrong. We're nearing the touring season. That usually starts early fall here in Cache Valley. Any big rumors or surprises that you've heard of going around? What might be coming through town?
Well, we've talked about this before, and I briefly described those events in the touring season that are easy to describe. The ones that are harder to describe, I kind of glossed over.
You sort of leave those, and you might want to see this.
There's a touring show coming in on September 7th called Airplay, which is an aerial ballet.
Really? Wow. Sounds dangerous.
Yes, it does. Actually, it's more like rather than people actually suspended from the ceiling, the ribbon play that you've seen sometimes. This is two people on the ground playing with objects in the air.
Interesting.
Influenced by a fan system to generate the air. The Sons of the Pioneers will be in, and they're local favorites in late September, September 27th. And there's a number of other ones we haven't talked about. One thing I've got to mention, when we were talking earlier about shows that have been done to death.
Sure.
And in fact, you pointed an accusing finger at Cinderella and said that puts you to sleep.
I do remember that. Although I've seen it done really well.
The Four Seasons is going to do Cinderella in late September. Opens September 24th.
Now, I imagine I'm in a minority on that.
No. I don't think so.
Because it usually fills up, right?
Well, Four Seasons is a great production,
sure.
Performing arts company. They do great shows. But when you think of Cinderella, it was originally written by Richard Rodgers and Oscar Hammerstein for a television production, not for Broadway.
Oh, really?
Somehow or other, they managed to cram it into like 60 minutes.
Wow.
With commercials. Remember commercials on television?
That's a feat.
Anyway, and then the show was, there were other broadcasts of it. The original in 1957 starred Julie Andrews, who at the time was performing on Broadway in My Fair Lady. Later versions starred Leslie Ann Warren, and there was a version in the mid-'90s that featured... oh, God, don't do this to me.
This happens to me almost every week, at least once.
Anyway, there were three television versions, but the point I'm trying to make badly is that the version that Four Seasons is going to perform was a revised version of Cinderella that appeared on Broadway in 2013 with a new book.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of the music is the same, but the storyline has been changed.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it God, how can I say this? It's probably, it's undoubtedly going to be worth seeing if Four Seasons is performing it. Four Seasons is Cache Valley's best kept secret.
Sure.
Nobody's heard of them outside the valley. They do great stuff.
And they've yet to have a flop.
I can't think of one.
Yeah, it's now that's intriguing enough to get me in to see what can be done with a slightly tweaked storyline.
Mm-hmm.
And that, that's interesting. That goes back to something you've talked about, what draws people to the theater in the first place, even for productions where, they know the story to death, like Sound of Music, for example. It's that something's going to be new. There's something, and sometimes it's just, as you've mentioned, there are certain players that you will go see something that maybe isn't even your favorite just because someone's going to be in it, or someone that you're a fan of is in the production somehow. That's enough to get a lot of people out.
Perfect example. Four Seasons a few years ago did The Sound of Music, and they had a woman named Sarah Huff playing the lead. And she was amazing. I mean, just blew your doors off. She was great. She was so good that when she wasn't on stage, the whole audience deflated. In fact, the other performers on stage deflated. They didn't know what to do if she wasn't there.
Funny.
But boy, she was good. And I haven't seen her in anything recently, but she was amazing. And I was kind of, okay, I'm here to watch The Sound of Music. Here we go. And from the minute she opened her mouth, the show was totally alive, totally, engaging.
That is very cool. I think that so the last thing I did a quick search of her name, and the last thing I could find that she'd been in was My Fair Lady at the Eccles. When I don't even remember when that was. It wasn't last year, I know.
No.
It was the year before, maybe the year before that even. And that's the last reference, at least in a quick Google search, that I can find of her name. So, but I remember when she was in that performance, that was sort of the talk of the theater culture for a little while, that she had really impressed people, and most had never heard her name before.
Mm-mm. I think it was the first time she performed in the Valley. I remember I went over to John Rash, who was sitting in the audience. I watched a dress rehearsal. And I said, "Where did you find her?" And he just said, "She walked in the door." But that's the kind of place we are. So,
sure.
People will wander in. The woman who played Marion the Librarian in that Music Man that Music Theater West did a few years ago. Wow.
I didn't see that, but that is my favorite character in that play, or in that musical, Marion the Librarian. I don't think the show works without it.
Oh, no. I mean, the two people who carry that show are Harold Hill and Marion the Librarian. If you have two good performers in those roles, we had Tyler Whiteside the last time.
Oh yeah.
The show works. If you don't have killer performers in those two roles, you're in deep trouble.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned that. The last time I actually saw that production, the person playing Marion the Librarian, that's why I say it doesn't work without someone good in that role. The person was not good. Well, she wasn't bad, but it wasn't what you want in that role, and it sort of ruined the whole thing. Speaking of this, well, actually, we've got to go to a break maybe on the other side. One thing I'm kind of excited about, and this is rare for me because something that's very done to death for me it happens to be the Disney version of things. I prefer when they either go back to the original source or tweak it a little bit or something, as you mentioned they're doing with Cinderella. But Music Theater West has announced in March they're going to be launching Disney's Beauty and the Beast. And I'm actually curious to see what they do with this because we'll have more time to talk about it. We've got one more break to get to here. Charlie Schill, our guest here in studio from the CacheValleyDaily.com KVNU newsroom, joins us every week at 4 o'clock to talk theater in Cache Valley, what you can get out and see. And there is actually plenty to still see this weekend and a lot more coming. We'll talk more about it right after this.
Honey, cover your eyes. Now step outside so I can show you your birthday present.
Okay.
Now, open your eyes. Happy birthday, a new car.
Oh, wow, hey, look at the neighbor's shrubs. Did they just have them trimmed and shaved?
Yeah, but the car, it's red, your favorite color.
They trimmed those huge oak trees, too. Look at their...
Honey, the car, do you like it?
Yes, thank you. But I can't believe how good the neighbor's yard looks. It's like something out of a magazine.
Next year, I'm calling Whole Tree Care for your birthday. I'll save a bunch of money, too.
Call Whole Tree Care, 760-6587. Ask about the radio discount for trimming and shaping trees and shrubs. They also do tree and stump removal. Call 760-6587. Serving all of northern Utah and southeast Idaho. Online at WholeTreeCare.com.
This is Governor Spencer Cox. Right now, we're facing our state's worst drought on record. If we continue to drain our water supplies at the current rate, we won't have enough for our future needs. So I want to thank the residents, businesses, and other institutions that have taken steps to slow the flow. Utah, now's the time to unite in our effort to water less. Please visit slowtheflow.org today to learn ways that you can take action.
Loveland Living Planet Aquarium takes us outside our everyday lives, into a world of discovery. It's a chance to explore our innate curiosity, discover animals from around the world, and experience the all-new outdoor plaza and eco. More to explore at Loveland Living Planet Aquarium. Reserve your visit at thelivingplanet.com.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Just a few minutes left in the hour that we have each week with Charlie Schill of Cache Valley Daily and KVN News Newsroom, talking theater with us each week. As he mentioned, Nonsense and Spam-A-Lot currently playing here. Touring season just around the corner. High school productions just around the corner as well. Mm-hmm. And then we get into the holiday stuff. And do you feel, Charlie, maybe as a final thought here, we talked about this weeks ago. Are you getting more for a feel for an answer to this question, maybe? But does everybody feel after last year they've got something to prove? We've got to make this happen this time. It's our big comeback. Or is everyone just settling back in and saying, no, we're good at this. We're just doing what we're doing?
No, well, there's certainly a spirit in the theater community that we need to get back to work. We need to do things that will bring audiences back in, because there's still people who are leery about being in a crowd.
Sure.
You see people in stores that are still wearing masks voluntarily.
Sure.
I think there's a sense of that. And we're about out of time.
Yeah. I always ask the toughest questions with a minute left. That's the way my brain works. Charlie, it's a pleasure once again. I'm excited to do this every week with you. And for listeners, he'll be back with us next Thursday at 4 o'clock for more theater talk with our good friend Charlie Schill of CacheValleyDaily.com and KVN News Newsroom. Coming up in hour 2, a man named Joe Williams, no relation of mine, of the Utah Division of Water Resource, joins us. He's going to talk about reservoirs in Utah. A report yesterday showing that $60 to $100 million investment could buy us 50 years of water resources. How would that work?